Hello, BookTube. It's time that I finish my top 10 videos I've been making recently when it comes to books. I've done my top 10 favorite books, I've done my top 10 books I hate the most, or whatever that title was, and now I'm going to be doing tonight. This morning, sorry, because I'm filming this at 1 in the morning because I just feel like it. I'm going to be doing right now the top 10 most mid books, just to get a full range of books. This is also going to be some books that I just kind of don't get the hype of too, so I'm just going to call them mid. I know that's a bit of a weird thing to do, but they're mid because I don't understand them really. So what we're going with, but this is fun. We're gonna have fun doing this. I'm having fun. I've got Harry over behind me, just looking down on all of us with his intense stare, and I feel like it's the perfect time in the morning to do this mid book list. So let's start. I've got 10 here, and we're kicking it off at number 10 with H.P. Lovecraft. I will admit I am not the biggest horror reader really that much. I've done my Exorcist, I've done my Jaws, I've done my Shirley Jacksons, more gothic stuff like Flannery. I've done a lot of the 1700s novels like Castle Otranto and a lot of like Anne Radcliffe and all that stuff. But I just don't get Lovecraft. I don't find his writing to be that good, really. I don't have much to say, really. He's just not my cup of tea. Whenever I think of writers from, like horror writers from that time, give me M.R. James. Give me him. This is just a personal thing, but I've just never been a fan of Lovecraft. I am due for a reread of Lovecraft, so he may not actually be mid, but my gut tells me right now that Lovecraft is a bit mid. But again, I feel like I'm on the outside looking in with Lovecraft, but I could be wrong about that. So let's go to number 9. And I'm going to put here The Grapes of Wrath and East of Eden by John Steinbeck. I know I'm cheating by putting two, but they're by the same author. I am not a hater of John Steinbeck. I like short John Steinbeck. Give me, The Moon is Down. I've got to look at these books. The Moon is Down. Give me, Once There Was a War, Travels of Charlie. It's all I can see on my shelf right now. But, fun stuff like that. I just The Grapes of Wrath. I've unhauled those two books recently. They never clicked. I feel like maybe it's like an American thing that I'm just missing out on. Which there's another book like that, but I never got The Grapes of Wrath. I feel like it's too sentimental for me. I don't know. I don't know. It just never clicked. And East of Eden, I kind of think John Steinbeck was trying a bit too hard. Like, I think he was really trying to impress you with East of Eden, and I just don't think he was playing to his strengths with East of Eden. I think, Steinbeck was really solid with Grapes of Wrath, but again, it never connected to me. I think, for me, in John Steinbeck's overall, oeuvre, Grapes of Wrath and East of Eden are mid for me. I would take any of his non-fiction, especially his times when he was a journalist in the war. Oh my god, I love that so much. But controversial, but again, it's just never clicked to me, so I'm going to say it's mid until I give it another try. Number 8, we have B.K. Borison. She is a romance writer. She does like fun rom-coms. You may know her for her Christmas books and all that. I've read First Time Caller, I've read Good Spirits, I've read And Now Back to You, which was a new release this year. And when Long Time Listener comes out next year, like February, I will read that. But B.K. Borison, I'm putting on this list because I've read a handful of her books. I haven't read everything. She is a bit mid for me. That's because I just haven't read a book from B.K. Borison that I've really loved yet. Kind of like Elsie Silver in that sense, but I feel it more with B.K. Borison. She kind of reminds me of like a Kathleen Center in that way, where I'm just like waiting for, the book that I love from her the most. Like, when all the stars align and all that. That's what I'm waiting for with B.K. Borison. I don't think she's bad at all, but just a bit mid, especially compared to some of the other, romance writers, contemporary romance writers writing today. But again, I know BK is still like newer and especially it's she's been out for a while now, like in terms of being broken out into the mainstream. But I'm just waiting for that book to click with me with BK Borison. So I could be wrong. This could again age pretty bad, but we have her. But at number 7, we have I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream by Harlem Ellison. I know, pretty shocked to hear me talk about this book. I've never mentioned it. My best friend loves this book. I thought it was mediocre, and I just had to put it on the list for her. So let's move on from that to number 6. I've got Wilkie Collins. I have a weird relationship with Wilkie Collins. I kind of love how unhinged his novels really are when it comes to like the whole, Victorian sensation stuff with like, deathbed confessions and mystery rooms and, false identities and all that stuff. I kind of love it. It's so unhinged. It really reminds me of like the Penny Dreadfuls of that same time too. But Wilkie, outside of the main 4 novels that people think about when it comes to Wilkie Collins, The Woman in White, The Moonstone, No Name, and Arabella. Is it Arabella? Or I can't remember it. But those 4, everything else I just haven't really liked from Wilkie. Even then, I've never been a big fan of The Moonstone. I like the whole, exotic, this jewel and stuff like that, but it's never clicked. I know people love Wilkie Collins, and I want to be a Wilkie Collins fan. I love the way he writes strong women. I find that really interesting for, a Victorian male author at the time, especially in comparison to what Dickens was doing. I really like that Collins had disability representation, even though, I can't remember what book it is now, but there's a character, I think it's in No Name, or Poor Miss Finch, I don't know, but she's blind, but also racist at the same time. Like, just weird stuff like that. That's so Victorian. I don't know who else would write that but Wilkie Collins. I recently did unhaul the one Wilkie Collins book I have left, but on my Kindle I have Armadale. That's it, not Arabella. Sorry, Armadale. I do have Armadale and what was the other one? No Name. Those are the 2 I have on my Kindle. So I always have a Wilkie Collins with me, and whenever it's Victober, I always read a Wilkie Collins too. So, but overall, I do think Wilkie is a bit mid overall. And so we're in the top 5 now. So at number 5, I've got Patrick White. Patrick White is an Australian author. He's not read that much anymore. He's the only Australian author to win like a major book award prize. Don't ask me which one, I can't remember. It's too early in the morning. But I have so many thoughts on Patrick White. I've read so much. I've done his major novels. I've done his short stories, his plays, his letters. I've done the big biography of him by David Marr, which I actually really liked. It's so big, but Patrick White as a writer just nothing for me. He is pretty much, we have D.H. Lawrence at home, and I don't even like D.H. Lawrence that much. He's like, if you had D.H. Lawrence and like a Virginia Woolf in terms of that stream of conscience and all that stuff, like if you combine them, but then you left it at home, and left it in Australia, you've got Patrick White. Like, I don't have much to say. He's just mid for me. When I look at his plots, his blurbs, I'm like, that sounds good, but his writing is so dry, and he tries to randomly add like in some supernatural elements in, like he's writing Picnic at Hanging Rock, and I'm like, what are you doing, girl? But it just doesn't work for me. Again, I could be wrong about Patrick White. I've just never seen it. I'd rather pick up any major Australian author besides Patrick White. Give me Judith Wright. Give me I can't remember names right now. Who wrote For the Term is Natural? Marcus Clarke. Give me him. Give me anyone. But yeah, Patrick White. And there's a reason no one reads him anymore. He's pretty much only here for unis, and he's not taught in high schools anymore. But yeah, number 5 is Patrick White. And then number four, we're going back to novels now, because let's just say for Patrick White, I was just talking about Voss, his biggest book. But number four is The Great Gatsby. I know this is very much in the same way as John Steinbeck in that it's just never fully clicked. I get what F. Scott was doing with like the whole rich, roaring 20s and all that stuff. I just don't really like it. I like it, but I don't love it, and I feel like I'm missing out. And because it's The Great Gatsby, and maybe it's like if I see an adaptation, because I've never seen an adaptation, maybe it would click more. But I just have, in general, a very hit and miss relationship with F. Scott Fitzgerald. I like The Beautiful and the Damned and Tender as the Night, and maybe like a handful of short stories, like the big ones like Bernice Buttons Her Hair and all stuff like that. But outside of those, I'm not the biggest F. Scott fan, especially his debut, This Side of Paradise. I didn't not like that at all. But Great Gatsby for me is a bit mid, but then again, I feel like I'm missing out on something because maybe it's like a cultural thing, but I just never got the hype really. But I am due for a reread, so when I read it, I may be proven wrong, of course. But let's keep on going from The Great Gatsby to number three, which is A Bigger Picture by Malcolm Turnbull. Malcolm Turnbull is a former Prime Minister here in Australia. He was Prime Minister during the mid 2010s, and he had a very chaotic 2010s, if you say so. And the reason I put this at mid, especially so high, is because it is such a long memoir, and prime ministers doing memoirs here in Australia are quite rare when you think about it compared to other countries. So I always get excited when a prime minister decides to do that. But Malcolm Turnbull, there is so much interesting stuff because he's talking about that he really led on, especially when it came to the Liberal Party in the 2010s, and just the sheer chaos of Tony Abbott, and then Turnbull knifing Tony Abbott, then ScoMo playing everyone like puppets the whole time, only to have a very chaotic term as Prime Minister himself. And Turnbull kind of lets that all out into the air, and it's so interesting. And now we have that big ABC documentary about the 2010s and the Liberal Party and coalition at the time. But Turnbull was onto this. He was saying some stuff about Scott Morrison in here, and I ate it up. I loved it. Tell me more, Turnbull. Like really, I do think of all the three prime ministers we had in that era of the Liberals, I do think Turnbull was the best. But then again, I feel like because half the party did hate him because he did knife Tony Abbott, he wasn't set to be there for a long time. But Turnbull did do some great accomplishments too, and all that stuff. But the one thing that makes this book so mid, back to the book, but what makes it mid for me is you've got to shift through so much of Turnbull thinking Turnbull done a great job. And that can be tough at times, especially when this book is so long. So you're kind of digging through to find the real, gossip, the tea. And it's there, but you kind of have to sit through so much. And so that's why it's mid, because it shows, but it doesn't tell. I don't know if I was going to say it. I can't think. But so have Malcolm Turnbull here. And let's keep going to number two. Number two, this is controversial. But I've said I'm not a fantasy girly. I've tried, and that's The Lord of the Rings. I know having finished Lord of the Rings, I've tried to get through it twice. I get through to the second volume, and I just give up. I can't handle Tolkien as a writer. I think he is trying too hard, but then I kind of like it because it is so over the top with the singing and the poem. Like, I kind of get all that, but I just could not care less about the plot, to be honest. I will say I am a bit more of like a Hobbit girly, just because I feel like it's just not as ambitious, and it's more quieter, and it's just more fun and loose. Where I feel like The Lord of the Rings, it's just so serious. I feel like Tolkien is also taking this so serious in a way that I don't think matches the whimsy of the Lord of the Rings. I don't know. I've just never clicked with Lord of the Rings. I like The Hobbit. I haven't tried the Silmarillion. I if I can't get through the Lord of the Rings, I don't know. I'm gonna go with that. But yeah, I'm just not a fantasy person, and I've tried twice with Lord of the Rings. I do think it's a bit mid. I know, but you know, I like Robin Hobb really. But yeah, so Lord of the Rings at number two, and let's keep on going to number one, where it's been 15 minutes of this. Number one is the Sherlock book, Sherlock Holmes series. Now, I'm going to exclude some stuff here because I love the adventures and I love the memoirs of Sherlock Holmes. Outside of that, maybe The Hound has like bits and pieces I like, but it's just never clicked. Like I don't know. I don't know where to start really. I don't like the novels. I don't like A Study in Scarlet. I can't remember their names. But I feel like after Sherlock comes back, then the series just takes such a dip. I think you can tell in Sherlock Holmes when Conan Doyle started to really resent the fact he was writing Sherlock Holmes, and I think he started to just really rehash a lot of the earlier Sherlock stories, and just really all the magic from the adventures and the memoirs were gone. I don't know. I've just never been a fan of the Sherlock outside of those two collections. I do have the big collected works of complete Sherlock. But even then, I'm like, should I just stick to the adventures or just get the memoirs or something? But then I'm like, oh, I'll go back and read them, and I did for Holmes is Where the Hardest. I reread the adventures and had an absolute blast. And then I think about reading the case book, and I'm like, ew, no, get that away from me, or Thalia Fear or whatever. And I'm like, no, thank you. And I just feel like Conan's heart wasn't in it anymore, and it kind of just really shows. And except from the adventures and memoirs, I do think Sherlock Holmes I get what it done, and I appreciate it for that. But again, I'm not a mystery person. I've tried, but Sherlock Holmes outside of those two books is quite mid for me. And that is my top 10 most mid books. We've officially done this trilogy of videos. It was so fun. And yeah, let me know what you think about my books I think are mid. And I'm going to go to sleep now because it's very early in the morning. And yeah, thank you so much for watching BookTube, and I will see you next time.